It's quiet here. Not the kind of quiet you find in a library or late at night in your room. No, this is different. This is the kind of quiet that feels alive, like the world itself is holding its breath. The desert at night has its own rhythm. The air is cool now, almost shy, brushing past your face as if to say, "Hey, I can be gentle too." During the day, it's all fire and fury. The sun roars, the sand burns, the air wobbles with heat. But when the sun drops behind the dunes, the desert exhales. You can almost feel it, this big, peaceful sigh rolling across miles of sand. Look around. The dunes stretch in every direction, silver under the moonlight. Each curve of sand looks soft enough to sleep on. Though, let's be honest, you'd probably regret it 5 minutes later. There's no noise except the whisper of the wind and the occasional rustle of something small, maybe a beetle or a lizard, heading home after a long day of pretending to be a rock. The stars, they're ridiculous tonight. Millions of them, scattered across the sky like someone knocked over a jar of glitter. Out here, with no city lights, they feel closer. Somewhere out there, the same stars that watched over ancient Egypt are watching you. And that's the strange thing. Standing here, it doesn't feel like the present anymore. It feels like time forgot this place. Like you could turn around and see a caravan of traders or a priest carrying a torch. And it would somehow make sense. The sand under your feet is cool and fine, like powdered glass. If you listen closely, the wind sounds almost like it's talking, not with words, but with the kind of voice you feel instead of hear. It's been speaking for thousands of years, telling stories no one's written down. Stories of kings and builders, of storms and lost travelers, of nights just like this one. You take a deep breath. The air smells faintly dry, like sun-baked stone and dust that hasn't moved since the world was young. And maybe, just maybe, it carries a memory or two, the breath of someone who once stood right where you are, staring at the same stars, thinking, wow, that's a lot of sand. It's funny when you think about it. This same desert has seen everything. Empires came and went. Languages were born, then forgotten. But the sand stayed. It just sat here, quietly collecting secrets, like an old friend who never interrupts. Every grain of it, and there are a lot of grains, in case you haven't noticed, has been somewhere, done something. Some were part of riverbanks before the Nile changed its course. Some might have brushed the hands of a pyramid builder or clung to the sandals of a traveler centuries ago. And now, here they are, under your feet, pretending to be ordinary. The desert doesn't rush. It doesn't care about deadlines or calendars or Wi-Fi signals. It just is. Maybe that's why it feels so peaceful, because everything here happens in slow motion. Even the wind takes its time, sculpting dunes like an artist who knows there's no hurry. You start to match its pace without meaning to. Your steps slow down. Your breathing softens. The world shrinks to this sand, stars, silence. You could almost believe time has stopped. And maybe, in a way, it has. This place has looked the same for thousands of years. The same moonlight, the same hills of sand, the same quiet night. Generations of people have passed, and yet, if one of them suddenly appeared beside you right now, they'd recognize this view instantly. That's the magic of the desert. It keeps everything simple. People often think of deserts as empty, but they're not. They're full of echoes, full of memory. It's just that they whisper instead of shout. If you listen long enough, you might start to catch fragments, little murmurs of what once was. Maybe you'll hear the faint ring of copper tools on stone, or the rhythm of distant drums. Or maybe it's just your heartbeat syncing with the earth's. Either way, it feels ancient. A gust of wind drifts by, playful but soft. It rearranges a bit of sand, smoothing out your footprints like you were never there. That's the desert's way. It remembers everything, but it also lets go easily. A nice reminder, really, nothing's meant to last forever. Not even footprints. You start to walk again, each step crunching faintly. Somewhere far off, maybe a jackal calls out, a lonely, echoing sound that fades into the distance. The moon hangs above, calm and enormous, watching over this endless sea of silver dunes. You can't help but smile. There's something comforting about knowing that so many generations looked up at that same moon, maybe even smiled at it too. The longer you walk, the more the night wraps around you. The cool air, the steady hush of wind, the soft rhythm of your footsteps. It's almost hypnotic. You start to feel light, like the desert itself is carrying you. Your thoughts slow down. Your mind drifts. And that's when it happens. That strange feeling that you've stepped out of time. That you're not in a present or the past, but somewhere in between. In a quiet space that belongs to both. This is the doorway. Every story, every civilization, every memory buried beneath the sand starts from here in the silence of the desert night. And if you listen, really listen, you might hear the faintest whisper of what's waiting ahead. Stone giants, hidden chambers, echoes of lives long gone but never forgotten. But for now, just breathe. Let the wind tell its story. Let the sand remember for you. Because tonight, the desert is alive, and it's been waiting a long time for someone to walk with it again. Ambient sound fades to near silence. Just wind and a distant owl call. Narrator's voice softens. So yeah, maybe the desert isn't empty after all. Maybe it's just full of stories that prefer to be told under the stars. And lucky you, tonight, you're here to listen. You see it before you really see it. The Great Pyramid. At first, it just looks like another shadow in the dark, a giant triangle sitting there, pretending to be part of the night. But then your eyes adjust, and the moonlight catches its edges, and suddenly, it's real, and wow, there it is. The oldest of the 7 wonders of the world. Still here. Still massive. Still acting like it owns the place. Which, to be fair, it kind of does. The pyramid stands there, quiet and still, as if it's been waiting for you to show up. There's a feeling in the air, that weird mix of peace and goosebumps. It doesn't move, it doesn't speak, and yet, it feels alive. Like the earth itself is holding a heartbeat deep inside. Slow and steady. You take a step closer. The sound of your foot crunching on sand echoes louder than you expect. Like you just interrupted a 4,000-year-old meditation. You half expect the pyramid to glare at you and say, "Could you not?" It's huge, and huge doesn't even begin to cover it. Each block is taller than you are, heavier than a car, and stacked so precisely that even with all our fancy technology today, people still argue about how they managed it. You stare up, craning your neck until your hat nearly falls off, and you realize this thing doesn't just touch the sky. It belongs to it. Under the moonlight, the limestone glows faintly, like it's storing bits of the stars in its skin. You can see the edges, sharp and clean, cutting through the night. It's not just stone, it's geometry made holy. You walk slowly around the base. The air feels different here, cooler somehow, as if the stones themselves are breathing. Each side lines up almost perfectly with the compass north, south, east, west, like it's been having a staring contest with the universe for the past 4 millennia. And the crazy part, it's still winning. You pause and rest your hand on one of the massive blocks. It's cool to the touch, rough in some places, smooth in others, like it's been worn down by wind, sand, and time itself. You wonder how many hands have touched this same spot. Builders, priests, explorers, tourists, all of them standing in the same quiet. For a moment, you're one of them, just another curious human trying to figure out why something so old still feels so powerful above you. The moon hangs perfectly over the pyramid's peak. If you didn't know any better, you'd swear they planned it that way. And honestly, maybe they did. The ancient Egyptians had this incredible sense of connection, not just to the earth beneath their feet, but to the stars above their heads. They believed the two were reflections of each other, heaven and earth in conversation. And this pyramid, it was like their way of saying, let's keep that chat going forever. You step back a little to take it all in. The stars, the stones, the silence. Somewhere off in the distance, a jackal lets out a long, lonely howl. It echoes through the dunes, bounces off the pyramid, and then fades into the wind. For a second, you swear you can hear the past breathing with you. You tilt your head up again and notice something strange. The 3 pyramids seem to line up with a familiar pattern in the sky. Orion's belt. Those same 3 stars that have guided travelers for centuries sit right above the 3 pyramids of Giza. It's too perfect to be random. It's like the builders said, let's build a mirror for the heavens, just on the ground. And there it is, heaven and earth connected by stone. You can almost picture the architects standing here thousands of years ago, looking at the stars, nodding and saying, yup, that's the spot. Start digging. The breeze picks up, whistling softly around the corners of the pyramid. It's not loud, just a long, low hum that almost sounds like singing. The stones seem to join in, vibrating ever so slightly, like the world's oldest choir warming up under the moon. It's strangely calming. You catch yourself swaying a little, matching its rhythm, the slow heartbeat of the earth you felt earlier. You can't help but laugh softly. Who knew giant rocks could be so peaceful? Maybe that's why the ancient Egyptians built them this way. Not just to impress the gods, but to remind everyone else to slow down, to breathe, to look up once in a while and remember we're tiny specks under a massive sky, And that's okay. You start walking again. Your shadow, long and stretched out behind you. Every few steps, you glance back at the pyramid, expecting it to do something, glow brighter, whisper an ancient secret, maybe even wink. But it doesn't. It just stands there, calm and proud, as if to say, I've already said everything I needed to. You just have to listen. The stars overhead shimmer a little brighter now, like they're nodding in agreement. You think about how much has changed since these stones were first placed. Empires rising and falling, new languages, new inventions, and yet, here it is, still unbothered, still perfect. Still here, a gust of wind rolls through, bringing with it that cool desert scent, stone, and mystery. It brushes past your face, through your hair, then disappears, leaving behind only silence. You look up one last time at the pyramid's peak, glowing like a slice of moonlight frozen in time. If the desert had a heart, this would be it. Steady, silent, and somehow eternal. A heartbeat carved into stone. You take one slow breath in and let it out. For a moment, you feel like part of something ancient, something bigger than words, older than history. Then you smile softly, whisper a quiet thanks, and start walking again. The pyramid doesn't reply. It doesn't need to. It's been talking to the stars for 4,000 years. It knows how to keep a secret. The desert changes when you close your eyes. You can almost feel it, time slipping backwards, the air thickening with smoke and life. One blink, and the moonlit stillness fades into firelight and chatter. The world around you glows warm and alive. You're standing in a workers' camp. Thousands of years ago, the people who built the Great Pyramid, sitting around small fires after a long day. The stars look the same, but the world smells of stone dust, sweat, and roasted bread. A hammer hits rock somewhere nearby. Tink, 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 not loud, just rhythmic, like someone refusing to rest until that one last stone fits just right. You hear laughter from another camp, deep, tired laughs, the kind that only come after hard work and full bellies. Someone's telling a joke you'll never understand in a language long gone. But the rhythm of it makes you smile anyway. For a moment, you forget where or when you are. The sand under your feet feels softer, warmer. The fire crackles, tossing sparks into the night, like tiny stars trying to join the sky. You sit down beside a few of the workers. They don't seem surprised to see you. Maybe, in their world, strangers from the future aren't that strange. One of them, a broad-shouldered man with tired eyes, passes you a piece of bread. You nod your thanks and pretend you're not completely confused by how normal this feels. You look around the camp. There are tents made from rough linen, pots simmering over small fires, tools laid carefully nearby. You realize these aren't slaves. They're skilled builders, artists even. Every face here carries pride, and that changes everything. You've probably heard the old stories, whips, chains, endless suffering. But the truth, the people who built the pyramids weren't slaves at all. They were paid workers, part of one of the most organized workforces in ancient history. They lived in real communities, with bakeries, doctors, breweries. Yeah, breweries. Turns out, pyramid building came with beer rations. Honestly, that might explain how they kept morale up in this heat. You can almost imagine the morning, the camp waking before dawn. The sound of footsteps, tools clinking, someone complaining about the sand in their breakfast. There's a quiet kind of pride in every movement. They're not just stacking rocks. They're building something that's supposed to outlive them all. Back at the fire, one man, let's call him Amin, is staring at the flames, lost in thought. He's got calloused hands and lines around his eyes, the kind that come from both sunlight and laughter. He's not famous, not a pharaoh or a priest, just one of the countless hands that shaped eternity. You can almost hear his thoughts. One day, he thinks, someone will walk by this place and wonder who we were. He doesn't know it yet, but he's right. Thousands of years later, here you are, sitting by his fire, listening to his heartbeat through time. The fire crackles again. He pokes at it with a stick, sparks flying up like glowing fireflies. He tells the others a small story, something about a dream. He dreamt that after he died, he'd rise as a star. Not just any star, but one that would watch over the pyramid forever. The others laugh softly, not mocking, just amused. You, star. Only if stars have bad backs. But Amin just smiles, gazing up at the real stars above. Maybe he knows something they don't. You glance up too, and there they are again. Orion's belt, shining like 3 watchful eyes. The same stars that guided the builders every night. The same stars that lined up perfectly with the pyramids they were building. Heaven and earth, side by side. You can't help but feel a strange comfort in that thought. That even the hands covered in dust and blisters once dreamed of eternity. That this whole thing, this impossible project, wasn't built with fear, but with belief. Belief that stone could touch the sky. That hard work could echo forever. That every hammer strike, every brick laid, was a small prayer made solid. You look around again, faces glowing in a firelight. They're eating, laughing, arguing about which team moved the most blocks today. Someone starts humming a tune, low and simple, and others join in. It's not loud, not perfect, but it fills the night like warmth fills your chest. For a moment, the desert doesn't feel empty at all. You take a deep breath. The air smells of smoke, sweat, and freshly baked bread. You don't speak their language, but somehow you understand everything. The rhythm of life, the pride of creation, the quiet joy of being part of something bigger than yourself. Amin glances your way, his face lit by the glow. He doesn't speak either, just gives you a small nod, like he knows you'll remember. Then he looks back at the flames, and the dream continues. His, theirs, yours. The sound of chiseling starts again in the distance, faint and steady. Someone's still working, even at this hour. The song fades, replaced by laughter, and the crackle of the fire grows softer. Like the night is winding down. One by one, the workers start to drift away, some to sleep, some to the shadows. The camp grows quiet again, just the whisper of wind through the linen tents. You stand up, brush the sand from your clothes, and take one last look. The pyramid looms faintly in the background, half-built, but already magnificent. You realize You've just witnessed the heart of history, not in kings or crowns, but in tired hands and quiet dreams. You blink, and suddenly the firelight fades. The sounds of laughter and tools vanish. You're back in the present, standing in the cool moonlight again, where only silence remains. But if you listen closely, you can still hear the faint echo of a hammer, far away, striking one last stone. Clink, 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 and maybe, just maybe, a voice carried through the wind, whispering, "We're still here." The moon is higher now. The desert feels quieter, like the whole world is holding its breath. You stand there, next to the pyramid, watching its long shadow stretch across the sand. It feels alive somehow, like the shadow itself is reaching toward the stars. You kneel down, press your palm to the cool sand, and trace the edge of that shadow with your fingers. It moves ever so slowly, following the moon. And in that simple motion, you can feel the rhythm of something ancient, the quiet math of the universe at work. Somewhere in the stillness, you can almost hear a voice. Not loud, not clear, more like a whisper drifting through time. And it says, "I designed it this way." You turn, half expecting to see someone standing there, and in a way, someone is. His name is Imhotep, the man who, long before this great pyramid, dreamed of stone reaching for heaven. Now, don't worry, this isn't a ghost story. Imhotep doesn't show up in a spooky way. If anything, he feels calm, warm, like a teacher stepping out of history to check your homework. He was one of the first architects in recorded history, a genius, a priest, a doctor, a mathematician, and probably the kind of person who would have organized your bookshelf by height and color. He served under Pharaoh Djoser, designing the step pyramid, the world's first major stone monument. And that one idea, stacking stone upon stone toward the sky, changed everything. You imagine him standing under the same moonlight, thousands of years before the Great Pyramid even existed. He must have looked at the desert and seen possibilities where everyone else saw sand. While most people were thinking, "Let's build a wall," Imhotep was thinking, "Let's build a mountain." Out of math. His vision wasn't just about bricks and angles. It was about balance. The ancient Egyptians believed that everything, from stars to people, followed a sacred order. They called it Mat, the harmony that keeps the world together. And Imhotep's buildings weren't just structures. They were physical prayers to that harmony. You look back at the pyramid, its angles sharp against the moon. Every line, every corner, every slope, all of it built with purpose. The base faces true north, the sides almost perfectly aligned with the 4 cardinal directions. It's not random. It's geometry meeting divinity. You think of how strange that must have felt, mixing math with worship. For Imhotep, numbers weren't just tools. They were sacred. Each ratio, each measurement was like a hymn written in stone. He probably saw triangles not just as shapes, but as symbols. The stable base of Earth rising to a single point in heaven. And that's what the pyramid really is, isn't it? A staircase for the soul. A way for the human spirit to climb out of the dust and reach for the stars. You close your eyes for a second and imagine what it must have been like to be him standing there. Sand swirling around your feet, sketching lines in the dirt with a stick, trying to explain to everyone what you're seeing in your head. They probably thought he was nuts. Like, sure, Imhotep. A stone mountain taller than any tree. Totally doable. But then he did it. And when the sun rose on the step pyramid for the first time, the world must have looked different. The horizon wasn't just flat anymore. It had ambition. You open your eyes again. The Great Pyramid stands silent before you, built centuries after Imhotep's time, but born from his idea. His dream of divine geometry had taken root and grown taller, stronger, grander. You start tracing the pyramid's shadow again. The moons moved just enough that your fingers now rest on cool sand where shadow meets light. There's something symbolic about that. The point where darkness touches brightness. Like heaven brushing against earth. You think about how the Egyptians saw that connection everywhere in stars. In architecture, even in themselves. They believed the soul had 5 parts, one of which was the Ka, the life force that connected the human body to the gods. Maybe these pyramids were the Ka of Egypt itself, vessels of energy. Keeping that connection alive. The air feels heavier now, full of history. The wind hums softly through the stones, almost like chanting. And maybe, if you listen close enough, you can still hear Imhotep's voice in it, explaining, teaching, proud. He whispers something like, "The universe is written in pattern. You just have to learn how to read it." And suddenly, you get it. That's what he saw. That's what all of this was about. Not just stacking stones to reach the sky, but building harmony between what's below and what's above. Between what we understand and what we can only feel. You smile, thinking how wild it is that someone from 4,000 years ago figured this out before Wi-Fi and calculators. And maybe you laugh a little too, imagining Imhotep trying to explain sacred geometry to a group of sleepy workers, like, "Okay guys, now align that edge with the pole star." And they're like, what now? But they did it. And somehow, even now, those same angles still line up perfectly with the heavens. You tilt your head back and follow the lines upward, from the pyramid's edge all the way to the stars it points toward. They shine softly, almost winking back. It feels like the universe acknowledging the blueprint. You press your palm against the stone one last time. It's cold, steady, and silent, yet you can feel the hum of energy beneath it. The same hum that started with Imhotep's vision. The same hum that's carried through every block, every equation, every prayer. The moon slides a little further, shifting the shadow across your hand. You trace it again, slower this time, until it disappears into the sand. The line fades, but the feeling doesn't. It lingers, that quiet understanding that somewhere between math and magic, humans found a way to build eternity. Soft music swells, gentle strings and wind tones blending with desert silence. You breathe out slowly. Look up at the stars again and whisper, "Nice work, Imhotep." The desert is quieter now. Even the wind sounds sleepy, brushing over the dunes, like it's trying not to wake the stars. You feel that strange hum again beneath your feet. It's faint, like a heartbeat hidden deep under the sand. Maybe it's the wind. Maybe it's just your imagination. Or maybe It's the pyramid itself, dreaming. You take a step closer, and the air feels warmer, heavier, full of memory. Somewhere in that stillness, you sense another dream forming. One from thousands of years ago. Close your eyes for a second. Let the moonlight fade, and the sand beneath you turns to polished stone. You're standing in a grand chamber now, walls painted with gold and blue, the air thick with incense. At the center lies a young pharaoh, asleep on a bed carved from cedar wood. A single oil lamp flickers beside him, throwing shadows across the ceiling that look almost like stars. The pharaoh's breathing is slow, peaceful, but behind those closed eyes, something is happening. He dreams in his dream. The world is vast and endless, a desert made not of sand, but of shining gold. The air glows softly like the dawn before creation. The stars are so low, they touch the ground, sparkling across the horizon. He walks barefoot, each step leaving a mark that glows for a moment before fading. There's no sound, only a deep cosmic silence, like the pause between heartbeats. Then, from that golden horizon, something rises. A mountain of light. Slowly, gracefully, as if the earth itself is exhaling. The pharaoh watches as the shape forms wide at the base, narrowing to a perfect point at the top. It's beautiful. So perfect, it almost feels alive. He whispers, "What is this?" And then, a voice, soft but vast, echoing through the dream. "Build where the stars kiss the sand." He looks up and sees that the very tip of that glowing mountain touches a star, a single point of light linking heaven and earth. The message is clear, even in a dream. This is not just a mountain. It's a bridge. The pharaoh reaches out his hand, but before he can touch it, soft wind sound, he wakes. The chamber is still. The lamp beside him flickers weakly, and dawn light seeps through the window. For a moment, he just sits there, heart racing, sand still clinging to his skin from the dream. He doesn't even know how to explain what he's seen, but he knows what it means. He calls his priests, his scribes, his astronomers, the people who read the sky the way others read scrolls. They gather around, bleary-eyed, still, half asleep. The pharaoh tells them about his dream, about the golden desert, about the voice, about the mountain that reached for the stars. The room falls silent. Even the torches seem to flicker differently now. One of the high priests finally speaks. He says, "The gods have chosen your place. The stars have marked it. You must build where the heavens meet the earth." The pharaoh nods slowly. He doesn't argue. He doesn't question. Because, somehow, deep in his bones, he already knew. And that's how the dream became a plan. Soft percussion begins distant. Echoing drumbeat. You can almost picture it. The first surveys being drawn. The priests mapping out star alignments. Astronomers marking the position of Orion and the North Star. Every line traced in the sand came from that single dream. The pharaoh believed he wasn't just building a tomb. He was building a ladder for the soul, a way to climb back into the stars, from where we all began. It's funny when you think about it. A single dream turned into one of the greatest wonders on earth, and it all started with someone asleep on a fancy bed. Soft chuckle in the narration tone. Makes you wonder what amazing things we've all forgotten from our own dreams, right? But for the pharaoh, this one stuck. He saw something bigger than himself, and he didn't just wake up and say, "Cool dream." He built it. Literally, you open your eyes again, standing once more in the present. The pyramid looms in front of you, glowing under the soft blue moonlight. For a second, Pharaoh standing here centuries ago, barefoot, robes fluttering in the wind, staring up at the first stone being placed. He must have felt that same mix of fear and awe, like watching an idea turn into reality. And maybe, just maybe, he felt proud too, not just for himself, but for daring to dream in the first place. You walk closer and place your hand against the stone. It's cold, solid, real, everything a dream isn't. And yet, without that dream, it wouldn't exist. The moon begins to sink lower, brushing the tip of the pyramid before dipping behind the dunes. The light fades gently, painting the stone in soft silver and shadow. The air still hums, steady and ancient. You whisper quietly, "Maybe every great thing begins as a dream." The breeze carries your words across the sand, almost like the desert is listening. And then you add, half smiling, "The only difference is who dares to build it." Soft, ambient music returns, slow harp, faint desert wind, then silence. You breathe deeply, feeling your eyes grow heavier. Somewhere between waking and dreaming, the pyramid glows faintly in your mind. Its tip touches a star, and the night holds you gently, as if whispering back, "Build where the stars kiss the sand." The night feels heavier now, not in a scary way, more like the desert is finally asleep, and you're the only one still awake to hear it breathe. Even the sand seems to have a pulse. You look up. The stars look closer than before, as if someone dimmed the distance between heaven and earth. They shimmer like lanterns hung above an endless sea of silence. It's strange, isn't it? How a sky so full can feel so empty at the same time. And yet, the ancient Egyptians didn't see emptiness at all. To them, this sky was alive. Every star was a soul, every twinkle a whisper. They believed the night wasn't dark. It was a river, a great cosmic river flowing over the world, called the Nile of the sky. And the stars, they were boats, carrying the spirits of the departed to the afterlife. Imagine that for a second. Souls sailing through the night like gentle sparks on water, gliding silently past Orion, past Sirius, past eternity. You can almost picture it, tiny glowing ships drifting across the black velvet sky. And if you listen closely enough, maybe you can even hear the paddles dip into that celestial river. Soft shimmer sound. Like wind chimes, the Egyptians believed that when a pharaoh died, his soul didn't vanish. It rose up through the pyramid's passages, those narrow shafts carved through solid stone. Not just for air, no. They were stairways, star ladders. The pharaoh's spirit would climb through them, guided by starlight, until it reached the heavens. There, it would join Orion, the great constellation they called Osiris, the god of rebirth. And maybe that's why these pyramids were aligned so perfectly, each passage pointing toward a particular star, like coordinates for eternity. You tilt your head back and trace the pattern of Orion's belt. 3 stars in a perfect line. If you connect them in your mind, they almost mirror the placement of the 3 great pyramids on Earth. Coincidence? Maybe, but somehow it feels too perfect for that. You take a slow breath. The air, cool and dry. It smells faintly of dust, stone, and history, a scent older than memory. It's easy to forget how clever these ancient builders were. They didn't have telescopes, computers, or apps that told them where the North Star was. They just looked, watched, learned, night after night, until the heavens themselves became their map. Soft chuckle in the narration tone, honestly. I can barely find my car in a parking lot at night. But these guys, they aligned a 6 million-ton monument with the cosmos. Talk about next-level stargazing. But for them, this wasn't just about math. It was faith. They believed that everything in the sky had a twin on Earth, that heaven and earth were mirrors of each other. As above, so below, and that's where our chapter gets its name. The stars above, the souls below. You imagine standing beside an ancient priest under this same sky, thousands of years ago. He's holding a small bronze tool, a sighting instrument. He's squinting up at the stars, murmuring a prayer as he marks the perfect point on the ground. Behind him, workers wait quietly, torches flickering. Every mark, every line, every block meant to reflect the order of the heavens. When you think about it, that's kind of beautiful. These weren't just builders. They were translators, turning the language of the stars into stone. Soft music, gentle harp tones. Now imagine floating above all of this. Your body drifts weightlessly upward, slow and soft, like a grain of sand caught in the night wind. Below you, the pyramid grows smaller. Its perfect angles glow silver under the moon. From this height, it looks like a triangle carved into infinity, one corner touching heaven, one rooted deep in earth. The stars stretch around you, endless and silent, but not empty. You sense something moving among them, not wind, not light, but presence, souls, some bright, some faint, all traveling, slowly, calmly, through the sky's vast river. You spot one drifting near Orion's belt, glowing faint blue. Maybe it's a pharaoh. Maybe it's someone who once looked up just like you. And for a second, it doesn't feel like you're looking at stars at all. You're looking at memory, at lives that burned, faded, and were reborn in the sky. You drift lower again until the pyramid fills your view. You land gently in the sand. The sound of the wind returning to your ears. The air hums softly. The same tone you felt all night. It's almost like the stones themselves are breathing, like they're alive with the echo of every prayer ever whispered here. You look up at Orion one more time, then at the pyramid. One mirrors the other perfectly. Stone and starlight, two halves of the same dream. You smile a little, shaking your head. For people who lived 4,000 years ago, you murmur, they sure had their astronomy figured out. Gentle laugh, sound effect, fades quickly into soft wind. And maybe that's the point. They didn't build for time. They built for eternity. Not for visitors or glory, but for the sky itself. As the breeze moves through the desert, you swear you hear something faint, like whispering in another language. Ancient voices, soft and rhythmic. Maybe they're saying names. Maybe they're just saying thank you. You close your eyes. The stars above flicker gently. The sand beneath your feet is cool now. And for the first time tonight, you don't feel small under the universe. You feel connected to it, like one of its many glowing points, part of a pattern far bigger than you can see. Soft strings swell briefly, then fade into silence. The wind still hums. The pyramid stands still, patient, eternal. The stars blink softly, like eyelids closing in slow sleep. And in that quiet, you hear a final whisper, not from above, but from within. Everything you are began with a star. You take a slow step inside. The night air clings to you for a moment, then fades as you enter the pyramid's shadow. The world outside disappears, replaced by a breath of ancient stone and stillness. It's cool in here. The walls rise close around you, smooth in some places, rough in others. The sound of your footsteps bounces back, soft and hollow, like the pyramid itself is listening. You lift your torch, its light dances across the walls, and suddenly the darkness isn't empty anymore. It's full of stories. Tiny, carved shapes, birds, eyes, snakes, suns, and stars march along the stone like an ancient river of words. Each symbol neat, precise, alive. Hieroglyphs dot the old language of the gods. You stare at them for a long time. They look simple at first, but the longer you gaze, the more you feel they're watching you back. Each one feels like a window into a world that refuses to die. It's strange. You can almost hear them. Not voices, exactly. More like whispers in the air, the kind you feel rather than hear. You take a few slow steps forward, torchlight flickering as the golden glow crawls across the wall. A falcon, a scarab beetle, a sun disk resting on a pair of wings. It's not just writing. It's memory carved into eternity. The ancient Egyptians believed words had power, not power like shouting at your Wi-Fi router. Real, mystical power to them. To speak something was to give it life, and to carve it into stone. That was to make it live forever. Every name on these walls was once a voice, a prayer, a dream, a promise. Now, thousands of years later, those same words still breathe in the flicker of your torchlight. You run your fingers lightly over one of the carvings. Owl with wide eyes, wings tucked close. The grooves are shallow but sharp. The stone is cool, smooth, unhurried. You whisper softly, "Whoever made this, you did a good job." Your voice bounces around the chamber, soft and lonely. But somehow, it doesn't sound alone. Imagine the scene long ago. Torches blazing, chisels tapping, men leaning close to the stone. A scribe kneeling, carefully drawing symbols in red pigment. A carver following the lines, chip by chip, hour by hour. One breath, one word, one eternity. This wasn't just work. It was devotion. Each symbol meant something sacred. The Ankh, life. The Eye of Horus, protection. The Scarab, rebirth. Every sign, a tiny prayer. A code for forever. You take another step deeper into the chamber. The torch flame trembles slightly as a soft draft moves through. The air smells of age, not decay, but time itself. A quiet that feels older than silence. Your eyes adjust to the dim glow. Now you see not just words, but entire scenes carved into the stone. Men offering gifts to gods. Women carrying jars. A pharaoh standing tall, his hand raised to the heavens. You smile. It's kind of like an ancient comic strip, except nobody's wearing capes. And the punchline takes a few thousand years to get. You walk along the wall slowly, tracing the line of the carvings. It feels like walking through someone's memories. And maybe that's what it is. The Egyptians believed if your name was remembered, your soul lived on. If your story was spoken, you were never truly gone. You whisper one of the names you see, carefully sounding it out. Your voice trembles a little, not from fear, but from awe. Ra, Mi, Su. The echo drifts away into the dark, maybe somewhere beyond the stars. That name just woke up. You pause and listen. The torch crackles. The air hums. Their S. Something soft in that hum, like breath through stone. It's as if the pyramid itself is whispering back. You close your eyes for a moment and just stand there, breathing with it, the warmth of your torch, the coolness of the walls, the faint grit of sand beneath your boots. You feel small, but not insignificant, like one more story added to a library that never ends when you open your eyes again. The torchlight catches a carving of a man kneeling before a star. You tilt your head. There's something poetic about that. A human bowing to light. It's almost like the stone itself is saying, everything you love is above you, and everything you are is beneath your feet. You let out a slow exhale. The words don't need to be translated. They just need to be felt. The Egyptians believed silence was not the absence of sound. It was the space where meaning waited to be heard, and in this chamber, surrounded by stone, you understand what that means. The builders are gone. The scribes are dust. Even their gods have changed names 100 times, but the words they carved, they're still here, still glowing faintly in the dance of firelight, still speaking. If you know how to listen, you smile again, softly this time. All this time, you whisper, and you're still talking. The torch flickers once more, then steadies, as if agreeing. You turn slowly toward the passage you came from. The light from outside glows faintly down the long tunnel, pale and cool, like the ghost of the moon. For a moment, you glance back at the wall. The hieroglyphs shimmer in the light, their shadows trembling like breath. And just for a second, it feels like they move, like the stories are alive again, stretching, waking, remembering. You take a final step back, lower your torch, and whisper one last thing to the walls. Sleep well, old stories. You've done your job beautifully. As you emerge into the night, the stars greet you again. The pyramid behind you is silent, but somehow, you know it's still speaking, just in a language too old for. Sound, you look up at the sky one last time and smile. Maybe. The stars are just another kind of hieroglyph written across heaven instead of stone, each one a whisper, each one a memory, each one a name. The air feels heavier here, not because it's hard to breathe, but because time itself seems to weigh more. You're standing near the resting place of a king. But it doesn't feel like a tomb. It feels like a doorway. The torchlight flickers. And for a moment, you can almost see him, the pharaoh. Not as a statue, not as a god, but as a man. He's sitting alone under the stars. The desert, cool around him. His robe fluttering slightly in the night breeze. His crown is beside him on the sand. He looks tired, but calm. You can tell he's thinking about something bigger than himself. He closes his eyes, and that's where our story begins, in a dream. In his dream, the pharaoh is standing in an endless desert, golden and silent. The horizon ripples with heat, though the sky above is full of stars. In the distance, he sees a shape rising, slow, steady, shimmering like a mirage, a pyramid. His pyramid, he walks toward it, his bare feet sinking slightly into the warm sand. Each step he takes, the pyramid grows taller, brighter, almost alive. It's not made of stone here, it's made of light. The air hums softly, like a heartbeat. The pharaoh whispers to himself, this is what they will remember. But then another voice answers soft, like wind over sand. Not the stone, my king. The dream. He turns, but no one's there. Only the desert, stretching endlessly in every direction. He frowns, thinking maybe he imagined it, but deep down, he knows he didn't. Because that's the thing about dreams. They don't need to make sense. They just need to mean something in real life. This pharaoh was more than a ruler. He was the heartbeat of a kingdom. Every sunrise, he was the link between the gods and the people, the bridge that kept the world in balance. But in his dream, he's just a man trying to build something that lasts forever. He walks closer to the glowing pyramid, and suddenly, he's not alone. Thousands of workers appear, carving, hauling, chiseling. Their torches make a river of light winding through the sand. Their laughter fills the air, echoing across time. He watches them, smiling faintly. These are the real dreamers, he thinks. Each stone they place is a word in his story. One worker wipes his brow, looks up at the pharaoh, and says, "Don't worry, my king. We'll make sure you're remembered." The pharaoh laughs softly. "Ah, yes," he says, "but for how long?" Even kings get philosophical in their sleep. He continues walking until he reaches the pyramid's base. It's warm to the touch, glowing like sunlight trapped inside crystal. He places his hand on it, and for a second, he feels the pulse of the earth itself, deep, steady, eternal. The voice returns. "This is not your monument," it says. "It's your bridge." He looks up, puzzled. "A bridge to where?" he asks. "To the place where names become stars." He raises his eyes, And now, the night sky is filled with constellations. But they're not stars anymore. They're hieroglyphs, shining above him. Each one a word, a name, a prayer. His own name glows among them, bright and calm. He smiles, not because he's proud, but because he understands. He finally gets it. The pyramid isn't about power or glory. It's about connection. It's the bridge between earth and heaven, between life and forever. You can almost picture it, the pharaoh standing at the top of his glowing pyramid, arms open to the stars. The desert wind swirling around him. He feels weightless, not royal, not divine, just human. Then, as dreams often do, the world begins to fade. The workers disappear. The stars dim. The light pyramid softens into shadow. The pharaoh looks around and whispers, "So this, eternity." The voice answers one last time, "No, my king. This is memory. Eternity is what remembers you." The dream dissolves completely, and he wakes back in his royal chamber. Morning light spills in through the narrow window. He sits up slowly, rubbing his eyes, a faint smile on his lips. He doesn't tell anyone about the dream, not his priests, not his scribes, not even his queen. But from that day forward, he visits the builders more often. He thanks them by name. He walks among them, laughs with them, even eats with them sometimes. And when they ask why, he just smiles and says, "I dreamt you were all stars once." Years later, when the pyramid is finally complete, he stands before it one last time. The sun is setting behind it, casting long golden rays across the sand. The stones glow like they remember the dream, too. He closes his eyes and whispers, "I'm ready to cross the bridge." He dies not long after, peacefully, they say. And when his people place him inside the tomb, surrounded by gold, amulets, and prayers, they don't just bury him. They send him on his way. And now, thousands of years later, here you are, standing in that same silence, listening to the same hum of eternity. You realize that maybe he's still dreaming, that every star above the pyramid is a spark from his eternal sleep. You smile and whisper into the night, "Sweet dreams, Pharaoh. You earned them." And as you look up at the pyramid glowing faintly under the moon, you can almost see him still sitting beneath the stars, still smiling, still dreaming of forever. The night is still. Again, the wind outside the pyramid has quieted down. And now there's only the soft hum of the desert. A sound that's not really a sound. More like the earth breathing in its sleep. Our torch flickers in the shadows. On the walls, dance like they're trying to tell us something ancient. It's the kind of place where even a whisper feels like it might echo for 1,000 years. Tonight, we're not chasing the stars or the stones. We're chasing the soul, you see. The ancient Egyptians didn't think the soul was just one neat little thing that floated out of you when you died. Nope. They believed the soul had layers, kind of like an onion, or maybe a cosmic parfait. They called them the Ka, the Ba, and the Ak. The Ka was like your life spark, your vital energy. It was born with you, lived with you, and, if things went right, would hang out in your tomb after you passed on. The Ka loved offerings, bread, beer, and sometimes roast duck. Honestly, if I were a soul and someone kept bringing me snacks forever, I'd stick around to dot. Then there was the Ba. The Ba was more free-spirited. It's often shown as a bird with a human head, a part of you that could fly between the world of the living and the dead. It visited family, checked in on old haunts, maybe even popped by to see who showed up at your funeral. Think of the Ba as your soul's social butterfly. And then there was the Ak, the final, shining form, a kind of glowing, perfected version of you. The Ak wasn't just alive, it was eternal. It lived among the stars, in the light of the gods, forever calm, forever awake. So, the journey after death wasn't about disappearing, it was about transforming. Turning from dust into light, from heartbeat into memory. Now the Egyptians believed the soul had to be tested. And this test wasn't some big, fiery trial. It was more like a divine interview with a very strict judge. Picture this. You stand in the Hall of Two Truths in front of Osiris, the god of the dead, calm, regal, and covered in green, the color of rebirth. To your left and right are gods, spirits, and magical creatures, all watching silently. And in the center, a scale. On one side, your heart, on the other, the feather of Mat, the goddess of truth and justice. The heart was thought to hold all your deeds, every kindness, every lie, every secret snack you told no one about. If your heart was light as that feather, you were good. You'd join Osiris in the field of reeds, a paradise of endless sunshine and gentle rivers. If your heart was heavy, well, there was a creature named Amit waiting nearby. She was part crocodile, part lion, part hippopotamus, basically a mix of do not mess with me. And if your heart tipped the scale the wrong way, she'd simply eat it. No drama. Just munch. Then your soul would vanish forever. Kind of. Makes you think twice about stealing your neighbor's goat. Huh. But here's the thing. The Egyptians didn't see death as scary. They saw it as a continuation, a journey to a better place. If you'd lived in balance, they believed that speaking someone's name kept their soul alive, that writing prayers and spells on tomb walls could guide the dead safely home, and that music, soft and slow, could calm even the gods. You can almost hear it now, the low hum of a harp echoing through the chamber. Maybe a voice chanting somewhere far away. A language so old, it sounds like wind. To them, death wasn't an ending. It was a doorway. One step closer to the stars. One breath closer to the gods. Let's imagine, for a moment, you're standing there, heart in balance. Mat's feather glimmering beside it. You look down, and your heart weighs just right, light, honest. Peaceful. Osiris gives a small nod. The hall brightens, and the walls open up to reveal a green field under endless sunlight. the field of reeds. It's quiet there, but not empty. You see families reunited, laughter in the air, boats gliding over calm water, a place where time doesn't press on you anymore. A tree watching your ka and ba drifting happily nearby, like little sparks of golden dust. Everything you were, all your memories, all your small joys, alive again. Forever, the torch crackles softly. The carvings on the wall shimmer one last time before fading back into shadow. Maybe the souls we just talked about, ka, ak, are listening, nodding quietly somewhere in the dark. The air feels heavier now, but not in a bad way. It feels full, full of stories, full of something that was never really gone outside. The wind starts up again, sliding across the sand like a lullaby. The stars above the pyramid twinkle like tiny candles, each one holding a soul that found its way home. And as we walk out of the chamber, leaving the hieroglyphs and the whispers behind, there's this warm little thought that stays with us. Maybe we don't really go anywhere at all. Maybe we just change rooms. The desert feels different. That makes you feel like the stars are holding their breath. The air is cool. The sand still warm underfoot, and somewhere in the distance, the wind hums through the dunes like a long-forgotten lullaby. And then, just there, half buried in moonlight, it appears, the great Sphinx, the oldest, quietest storyteller in the world at night. The Sphinx doesn't look like stone. It looks alive. Its massive head glows faintly in the moonlight. Eyes fixed on something we can't see. Maybe eternity itself. Up close, the silence is thick, almost humming. The kind of silence that feels like it's thinking. You can almost imagine it sighing after a long day. Sure, why not? The Sphinx has watched the world change. Kings come and go. Empires rise and crumble. Sandstorms roll over its back again. And yet, here it is. Still, that half-human, half-lion face has seen everything. And somehow, it still looks patient. The missing nose, and other mysteries, of course. One of the first things people notice is the missing nose. It's like the world's biggest before and after picture, only we never got the before part. So what happened? Some say it was broken off by Napoleon's soldiers during target practice. Others say it was destroyed centuries earlier by a religious fanatic who didn't like idols. Either way, the poor Sphinx has been sneezing, metaphorically, for over 3,000 years. But let's be honest, even without a nose, it's still magnificent. If anything, it adds character, like one of those old statues that wears its scars proudly. What makes that Sphinx so haunting isn't just its age, it's that expression. It's not smiling, not frowning, just calm, peaceful, like it's been stuck halfway between a dream and a thought for all of eternity. The Egyptians called it Shei Shapang, the living image. To them, it wasn't just a sculpture, it was a guardian. Some say it guards the necropolis, the city of the dead, and all the souls resting in the tombs nearby. Others think it guards time itself, keeping watch so the past doesn't fade completely. But I like to think it's watching over dreams. Every grain of sand that drifts across its paws, every breeze that hums through its ears, all part of the same eternal nap. Now here's where things get delightfully weird. Around 3,400 years ago, a young prince named Thutmose went out hunting one afternoon. After hours in the sun, tired and dusty, he decided to rest in the shadow of the Sphinx. He closed his eyes and dreamed. In the dream, the Sphinx spoke to him. Yes, spoke. The Sphinx said, "Look at me, Thutmose. I'm half buried in sand. Free me, and I will make you king of Egypt." Imagine waking up from that. You'd probably think, okay, either I'm dehydrated, or destiny just slid into my dreams. When Thutmose opened his eyes, the Sphinx was there, half covered in sand, its great paws barely visible. He took it as a sign, and plot twist, it worked. He became Pharaoh, Thutmose IV, and as promised, he cleared away the sand and placed a monument between the Sphinx's paws. The dream, STEL. It's still there today, a tall granite tablet, carved with a story of that dream. That story isn't just an old legend. It's a perfect symbol for what the Sphinx really is. It's the place where dreams and history meet. A sleeping face carved from stone, born from a time when gods and kings shared the same breath. A dream that never woke up, and maybe never has to. The dream, Stele, tells us something profound. That humans, even thousands of years ago, sin, that their lives mattered beyond the moment. When Thutmose dreamed of the Sphinx, maybe he wasn't just seeing a talking statue. Maybe he was seeing himself, his hope, his purpose, his story yet to be written. And in a way, every one of us is like that, half asleep between what's real and what's imagined, chasing our own dream steals, the little marks we leave behind. So the world remembers we were here, standing beneath the Sphinx. Now, the night feels even deeper. The wind sighs again, tracing the stone with soft hands of sand. For a moment, you swear its eyes glimmer, not with reflection, but with memory. The moon climbs higher, silvering its back, and for just an instant, it almost seems to breathe, like the desert itself is dreaming again. Maybe the Sphinx isn't a monument of stone. Maybe it's a monument to dreaming. Proof that imagination is just as eternal as granite. It's funny to think the Sphinx has probably seen every sunrise since the beginning of human memory. And yet, it still looks like it's halfway between sleep and awake, just waiting for the next story to start. The torchlight fades as we step back. The stars hang heavy above, silent witnesses to another long, endless night. You turn for one last look, and the Sphinx seems to shift ever so slightly, not moving exactly, but changing in your mind. You could swear it smiles, just a little, and maybe, just maybe, it's whispering again, not to a prince this time, but to you. Dream boldly, it says. Time may bury many things, but dreams they always find their way back. The wind carries that whisper into the dunes, across the Valley of Kings and the quiet pyramids beyond. The sand settles, the stars shimmer, and the Sphinx closes its eyes again, the eternal guardian, still watching, still dreaming. The desert is still. The stars are still the same, quiet, endless, old. But the world around them has changed. And tonight, as we stand in the moonlight near the Great Pyramid, it's time to turn a new page in our story, one written not by pharaohs or priests, but by the curious minds who came thousands of years later. It's funny, isn't it? For centuries, the pyramids just stood there. No crowds, no tourists, no flashlights, no Instagram reels, just sand, wind, and silence. But time, as it often does, circled back in the late 18th century. The world started remembering Egypt again, and when it did, it came roaring back to life, full of explorers, scholars, and dreamers who wanted to know what these ancient stones had been trying to say all along. The desert. Once a sleeping giant was about to wake up. Our story drifts now to a strange sight. A line of men on horseback, their cloaks flapping in the hot wind. At their head, Napoleon Bonaparte himself. But this wasn't just a military campaign. No. Napoleon brought something far more interesting. A team of 160 scholars and scientists, artists, engineers, linguists, people who looked at a pile of stones and saw not ruins, but stories. Imagine the scene, tents pitched in the golden dust, telescopes and measuring tools glittering in the sun, maps scattered on tables. These people weren't chasing treasure. They were chasing understanding. And, in a way, that's even rarer. Napoleon's scholars recorded everything. They measured temples, copied inscriptions, and filled thick notebooks with sketches and observations. When they returned to Europe, they published their work, and suddenly, the whole world was enchanted. It was like Egypt had cast a spell on modern civilization. Painters started adding pyramids in the background of their art. Writers filled pages with ancient mysteries and sleeping kings. Even furniture started looking a bit more Egyptian. Thus began what we now call Egyptomania, the world's long, passionate crush on ancient Egypt. And then, the real turning point came. A group of French soldiers digging near the town of Rosetta unearthed a dark slab of stone, carved with 3 sets of writing: Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphic. It didn't look like much at first, just another rock with some scratches. But that rock would unlock one of history's oldest secrets. It was the Rosetta Stone. For the first time, scholars had a way to decode the language of the pharaohs, to hear voices that hadn't spoken in thousands of years. That must have been a goosebumps moment, like finding the user manual for time itself. For years, the brightest minds in Europe tried to solve it. And finally, in 1822, a young Frenchman named Jean-François Champollion cracked the hieroglyphic code. He realized the symbols weren't just pretty pictures, they were sounds, words, grammar, and suddenly, the ancient world started speaking again. Imagine that first moment, someone reading a prayer carved 4,000 years ago, out loud, for the first time in forever. It's like unlocking a voice that had been whispering from stone all along. And in a way, it was. As decades passed, the hunt continued. Explorers like Giovanni Belzoni, Howard Carter, and so many others pushed deeper into the desert, following faint clues. Tracing history through sand and rumor, they found temples, mummies, jewelry, coffins, things that had been sleeping for millennia. And with every discovery, the world's curiosity grew wilder. People read the news like bedtime stories. A new tomb found, a forgotten queen uncovered, a lost city rediscovered. Even now, more than 200 years later, Egypt still has secrets she hasn't shared. And honestly, I think that's kind of perfect, because mystery keeps wonder alive. If there's one thing that ties us to the ancient Egyptians, it's curiosity. They looked to the stars, wondering what lay beyond. We look into the past, wondering what they knew. Different questions, same hunger. That's what I love about this part of history. It's not just about mummies and monuments. It's about human wonder, that quiet spark inside us that says, there's more to learn. And maybe that's what the pyramids are still doing, teaching us, generation, to keep asking questions. Sometimes I think the pyramids are less like tombs and more like time machines. Every person who studies them, photographs them, or just stares at them under the moon adds another chapter to their story. From the workers who built them, to the priests who prayed in them, to the scholars who rediscovered them, they're all part of one long dream. A dream in stone. And we, standing here tonight, are part of that dream too. The desert wind picks up again, cool and gentle. You can almost imagine the faint sound of pages turning. Not papyrus this time, but books, journals, discoveries. It's humbling. Really, so many people have walked this same path, from ancient builders to modern explorers. All of them trying to read what the stones remember. And as the night deepens, you realize something simple but beautiful. Curiosity never dies. It just changes shape, from chisels to pens, from torches to flashlights, from prayers to podcasts. The tools change, but the heart doesn't. The pyramids stand quiet again now, but this time, they don't feel silent. They feel listened to. You take one last look at their smooth sides. Silver under the moon. You can almost picture Napoleon's scholars there, notebooks in hand, or Shang Po-young squinting at a strange stone under candlelight. And you smile, because all of them, in their own way, were dreamers too, just like the workers, the pharaohs, the priests, and us, here, listening to their echoes. History isn't gone. It's just waiting for the next curious mind to stop, stare, and whisper, "What do you remember?" The night is deep now, the kind of deep that makes the stars look closer, like they're leaning in to listen. The wind has settled, the sand has gone still, and the Great Pyramid sits there, huge, silent, watching. You've seen it 100 times in photos, right? Maybe even in movies. But standing here, even in imagination, feels different. It's not just a monument, it's something alive. It hums, quietly, like it's dreaming. Here's the thing about the pyramids. No one really gets them. Not fully. We know the math, the measurements, the stones, the structure. But somehow, they still sit at the edge of mystery. They haunt our imagination, in a good way. People all over the world dream about them. Writers, painters, scientists, night shift workers, Even kids who've never seen a desert, all of them feel the same quiet pull. The same question: why does this shape make us feel something? Maybe because it looks so permanent. It's like the earth itself decided to make a point. See, I can last. When you stare at the pyramid, it's hard not to think about time, about how the people who built it are gone, thousands of years gone, and yet their dream is still standing right here. They wanted to touch eternity, to make something that the wind couldn't erase, something that would stand long after even their names were forgotten. And they did it, stone by stone, breath by breath. In the middle of a sunburned desert, it makes you wonder what kind of dream gives a person that much patience. We talk about kings and gods, but honestly, I like to imagine the dream belonging to the workers, to the builders, the ones who sang while they hauled stones, who wiped the sweat from their faces and looked up at the growing shape and thought, we're making something big. Maybe one of them, after a long day, sat by a small fire and stared at the half-built pyramid and dreamed of what it would look like when finished. Maybe he smiled and thought, I'll be gone someday, but this will still be here. That's a beautiful kind of immortality. Not the kind written in books, but the kind carved into the world thousands of years later. We're still dreaming the same dream. Ours just look a little different. We build with steel instead of stone. And we dream with pixels instead of papyrus. But deep down, it's the same feeling, wanting to leave something behind. A story, a song, a painting, a tiny invention that makes life a bit better. A child raised with kindness, memory that outlives the noise. We all want our lives to mean something. That's the real pyramid, the one we build inside. It's funny, too, how the pyramid itself has this perfect balance, wide at the base, sharp at the top, reaching toward the sky. It's not just geometry, it's poetry in architecture. Some scholars say the shape represents the sun's rays, the journey from earth to heaven. Others say it's about stability, strength, perfection. But maybe it's just a reflection of a dream, the dream of ascent. We all want to rise, in some way, not in fame or wealth necessarily, just in meaning. To grow closer to something larger than ourselves, to build upward, even in silence. There's another thing about the pyramids. They don't rush. They're not in a hurry to tell you what they mean. They just sit there, still, patient, eternal, and somehow, that stillness is powerful. Because in a world that never stops moving with messages, noises, updates, deadlines, the pyramids remind us of something simple. Stillness is a kind of strength. Silence can outlast noise, and calmness, real calmness, can echo through thousands of years. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? That you don't have to be loud to be remembered. Now, close your eyes for a second. Picture the pyramid again. The moonlight on its sides, the endless sand, the hush of the night. And then imagine it's not made of stone. Imagine it's made of your own hopes, your efforts, your kindness, your moments of courage. That's your pyramid, the one your soul is building. Quietly, day by day. It might not stand in a desert. Maybe it's in your family. Your art, your laughter, your love. But it's there, and it's growing. Every choice, every good thing you do, is another block set in place the ancient builders probably never knew. Their work would still be standing thousands of years later. They couldn't have imagined airplanes flying over it or tourists taking selfies beside it. They were just following a vision, one stone at a time. Maybe that's all any of us can do. Follow the dream, not knowing how far it'll go. That's the beautiful part of being human. We don't know what will last, but we keep building anyway. So let me ask you something, quietly, like a whisper between stars. What do you wish to build that will outlast time? It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be famous. It just has to be true. Maybe it's a small act of kindness, ripples through generations. Maybe it's a story that touches someone's heart years from now. Maybe it's just the peace you leave behind in your home, your friendships, your little corner of the world. That's your pyramid, and it's beautiful. The night grows still again. The stars shimmer softly. The sand hums low. The pyramid stands silent, ancient, proud, glowing faintly in moonlight, and you realize something. The dream never ended. It didn't stop with the pharaohs or the scholars or the explorers. It keeps going through you, through me, through every soul that dares to wonder. The pyramids may be built of stone, but the dream behind them, that's eternal. So sleep well tonight, dreamer, and maybe somewhere in your dreams, you'll walk beside the builders, hand in hand, still reaching for the stars. You can feel it now, the night getting lighter, the edge of dawn brushing the sky. The moon, that quiet silver guide, is sinking low behind the dunes. And here we are, standing where time itself seems to exhale. The pyramids are still there. Of course, calm as ever, not in any hurry to move. They've seen so many nights like this one that another sunrise probably feels like a blink. Even the air seems slower now, as if the desert itself is stretching after a long dream. You take a few steps away from the stones. The sand shifts under your shoes, a soft whisper, like the earth reminding you to tread gently. Behind you, the great pyramids fade into a blur of gold and shadow. Ahead, the horizon glows, first pink, then orange, then something between fire and honey. It's the moment right before day takes over. Birds begin their soft chatter, the first songs of morning. A desert fox darts behind a rock, looking offended that you're still here, ruining its peace. You almost want to apologize. Sorry, little one. We were just time traveling through history. The breeze is warmer now. You close your eyes for a moment and listen. The silence of night is giving way to the hush of day. Different, but just as deep. If the night was for remembering, maybe the morning is for feeling grateful. You think back on everything you've seen, or maybe imagined. Tonight, the flicker of ancient torches, the sound of chisels, the low laughter of builders sharing bread under the stars. You saw priests whispering prayers in smoky temples. You watched pharaohs dream of forever. You saw explorers brush dust off forgotten words, and scholars translate them into light. And somewhere in all that, in the dust, the dreams, and the echoing silence, you found something familiar. Something that felt like home. Maybe that's what the pyramids really are. Mirrors. They don't speak, they don't move, but they show us pieces of ourselves we didn't know were there. A part that loves to build. A part that wants to last. A part that looks at the stars and thinks, hey, maybe I belong up there too. You keep walking, the sand now glowing golden under the rising sun. It holds your footprints for just a moment before erasing them. You can't help but laugh quietly. The desert has no time for ego. It's too busy being eternal. The pyramids behind you look different now. By night, they were mysterious, full of secrets and whispers. By morning, they're simply magnificent, solid, glowing, and patient. They've survived everything the world could throw at them. And somehow, they still stand smiling at the sun, like it's their oldest friend. Maybe the builders knew that time would wear away everything but peace. Maybe they weren't chasing eternity for themselves, but for the idea that beauty, real beauty, never really ends. You pause and let that thought settle in. The way sand settles after a breeze. You feel calm, not sleepy. Exactly, more like rested in your soul. The kind of peace that doesn't come from silence alone, but from listening to it, somewhere. In the distance, you hear a soft rumble, maybe wind, maybe imagination. For a split second, you think it sounds like laughter, and you smile, because maybe the past isn't gone. Maybe it's just quiet, waiting for someone to listen again. As the sun rises higher, the pyramids fade into the bright sky, not gone, just blending in, like old friends stepping back into the crowd. You start the slow walk back, following your own faint footprints until they disappear too. The desert is smooth again, flawless, unbothered. The kind of silence you could fall asleep in. And maybe that's the point of this journey. We don't visit the pyramids just to learn how they were built. We come to remember how to be still, how to build our own quiet monuments, not from stone, but from kindness, dreams, and time. You take one last look at the horizon. It's brighter now, the world waking up around you. You whisper a soft thank you to the desert, to the stars, to the stars, to the silence. And in that moment, it feels like the world hears you back. Now, let the warmth fill you. Let the morning sun settle your thoughts. Let your own dreams rise, quietly, patiently, like the golden light spreading across the dunes. Because every dream, no matter how small, is its own kind of pyramid. It may not last forever, but it reminds the world that you were here, and that you loved deeply enough to build something out of nothing. And with that, we return to silence, soft wind, soft light, soft heart. The desert exhales once more. The pyramids shimmer like memories in the sun. And the day, your new day, begins. The night is almost gone now. The stars have begun their quiet retreat melting one by one into the growing dawn. The desert has fallen still again, like a deep exhale after a long and beautiful dream. And in that stillness, the pyramids remain, silent, steady, breathing with the earth itself. You can feel it if you stand still long enough. A hum beneath your feet, slow and ancient. It's not sound exactly, more like memory. A rhythm older than language, older than us. Like the desert whispering, "Don't worry, I've seen it all. I'll hold the rest." The air feels different now, soft, gentle, no more night chill. It's the hour when the desert sighs and says, "Okay, time to start again." But the pyramids, they don't really start or stop. They just are. They've been breathing for 5,000 years, in and out. Like stone lungs filled with silence. You take a few slow steps closer to one of them. Its shadow is fading as sunlight climbs its side. And for a moment, the stone looks like it's glowing. You imagine each block as a heartbeat, carved, placed, and set with purpose. Every one of them a promise from someone long gone. This will last. Maybe that's what the pyramids really are. Not just monuments, but memories made solid. They were built to hold dreams, not just bodies. Dreams of forever. Dreams of peace. Dreams of leaving something behind that time can't erase. The sand shifts softly underfoot. You look around, the dunes, the horizon, the faint glint of stars still clinging to the sky's edge. Everything feels connected now. Like the earth and sky are part of the same. Slow breath. There's something strangely comforting about knowing that this place hasn't changed much since those ancient hands set the last stone. Empires have come and gone. Languages have risen, faded, and turned into whispers. But the pyramids, they just keep standing there, doing their quiet thing. No drama, no hurry, no Wi-Fi. Just presence, and honestly, maybe that's the lesson. To stand still sometimes, to just be. Not to chase time, but to breathe with it. You lean back against a smooth patch of stone, cool and warm, all at once. It's like the pyramid remembers what night feels like, but welcomes the sun anyway. You smile a little. The stone doesn't need to move to have meaning. It doesn't need to speak to be heard. It simply exists, and somehow that's enough. You close your eyes, and in the darkness behind your eyelids, you still see it, the vast triangle of light and shadow, stretching upward to touch the heavens. Somewhere far above, the last few stars wink out, and a bird calls across the dunes. It's peaceful. Not empty, just full of calm. Like the world has decided to take one long, slow breath with you. Maybe this is what the builders wanted you to feel. Not awe, not fear, but peace. To stand in front of something eternal and realize that eternity isn't loud or grand. It's quiet. It's patient. It's made of small, steady things. Breath, heartbeat, sunrise, sand. The desert wind moves softly again, carrying with it the faint sound of music. Or maybe it's just in your head. A low, warm hum, like a harp string touched by air. It blends with your heartbeat, slow and even, until you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. You breathe out. The same wind that touched the builders' faces now brushes yours. thousands of years apart, same air, same rhythm. For a second, you're not just you. You're part of everything that ever was, and everything that's still dreaming. You glance one last time at the pyramids. They seem to shimmer now, not because of light, but because your eyes are getting a little heavy. And that's okay. That's how these nights are supposed to end. Not with a bang or a mystery solved, but with a long, slow sigh into peace. The desert fades at the edges. The horizon softens. You can almost feel the dream tugging at your hand. And if you listen closely, really closely, you might hear the whisper, "Now, rest." The dream continues. Because maybe it does. Maybe when you fall asleep, your soul keeps walking across the dunes, beneath the stars, past the silent stones. Maybe it drifts up the side of the pyramid and out into the starlit sky. Or maybe it just curls up beside the desert wind, content to breathe for a while longer. Either way, the story doesn't end here. It never does. You are part of a much older rhythm now. The rhythm of stone and star, of silence and light. And as the music of the desert fades into the background, soft harp notes, slow wind, steady heartbeat, you can finally let go. Let the sand cradle you. Let the air wrap around you like an old friend. Let the pyramids stand watch for you, as they've done for everyone before. The stars have gone quiet now. The sun is fully awake, and somewhere in the golden distance, the world is waiting for its next breath. But you don't have to move. Not yet, just rest. You've wandered through time tonight. You've seen eternity up close. Now, let the silence take care of the rest. The desert exhales. The pyramids shimmer softly. And the dream, your dream, continues.
you.